Dawn came, and maybe you woke up with that usual silent feeling, hope mixed with worry. The head already starts to spin, the bills appear in the mind, the plans seem too big and the time too short. But what if I told you that this new day didn't start by chance? That there is an invisible door being opened right now, to your financial prosperity, and almost no one realizes it. Most people believe that thriving depends only on effort, luck, or opportunity. But the truth, taught both by divine wisdom and by the great scholars of the mind, is another: prosperity begins in the mind. Napoleon Hill already said that thoughts create reality, and the Bible confirms that everything begins in the heart. When the subconscious mind is stuck in mental scarcity, no opportunity holds up. When she awakens, abundance finds its way. This content is not just pretty motivation to start the day. It is an invitation to a real spiritual awakening, where faith and action go together. Here, you will understand how to align spiritual prosperity, mind reprogramming, and divine direction to build wealth with purpose. Not to get rich out of vanity, but to prosper with God, with balance, peace, and meaning. If you feel like there's more in store for your life, more abundance, more clarity, and more results, stay with me. Because maybe today is not just another morning. Perhaps it is the day when the right door has finally opened. Financial prosperity goes far beyond money coming into the account. It starts with the way you think, feel, and talk about resources, opportunities, and work. Many people work hard, but they are still stuck in mental scarcity because they have never adjusted the mentality of prosperity. The truth is simple and powerful: prosperity begins in the mind before it manifests in the physical world. When the subconscious mind understands that it is possible to thrive, the path begins to open. Divine wisdom has always taught that nothing grows healthily outside of principles. Faith and prosperity go together when there is a balance between trusting and acting. It's not expecting a miracle falling from the sky, nor living in anxiety trying to control everything. A practical step? Start by organizing your financial life. Even if it is simple, write down expenses, avoid waste, and pray for divine guidance before making important decisions. This is prospering with God in practice. Psalm 112 prosperity shows us that the righteous prosper because they live in line, not because they run after money at any cost. When you start to seek wealth with purpose, money stops being an emotional burden and becomes a tool. Replace phrases like "money is hard" with conscious statements, because thoughts create reality. This small adjustment initiates a reprogramming of the mind that sets the stage for the next level of abundance. Divine wisdom is not accumulating information. It is learning to see life from the right angle. There are people who know a lot but decide badly because they have never learned to listen to divine direction. Spiritual prosperity is born when you understand that not every opportunity is a blessing in disguise. Sometimes, saying no to something that looks good is exactly what protects your financial prosperity down the road. God does not speak loudly, but speaks clearly to those who learn to silence the mind. In practice, seeking godly wisdom begins with simple, consistent habits. Setting aside a few minutes in the morning for Bible reading, for example, especially texts like Proverbs or Psalm 112 prosperities, already completely changes the way you think. Add to this a short, objective prayer, asking for discernment before acting. This combination of prayer and action strengthens the subconscious mind and prevents decisions driven by fear or mental scarcity. Napoleon Hill taught that the mind aligned with a higher purpose accesses ideas that ordinary people ignore. This is where faith and action truly meet. When you act with godly wisdom, you begin to notice connections, opportunities, and solutions that previously went unnoticed. This is a quiet but powerful spiritual awakening that sets the stage for living abundance in a solid way. And this naturally leads us to the next point, where prosperity ceases to be an exception and becomes a flow. Abundance is not disordered excess. It is living with the internal feeling that nothing is lacking. When the mind is trained to perceive possibilities, mental scarcity loses strength. Divine wisdom teaches that God is an inexhaustible source, and those who connect to this source start to live in spiritual prosperity even before seeing material results. That is why two people can earn the same value and live completely different realities. A simple exercise to activate abundance is to shift your daily focus. Instead of waking up thinking about what is missing, start the day by being grateful for what already exists. It may seem basic, but gratitude reprograms the subconscious mind and creates room for more financial prosperity. Write down 3 things you're grateful for and 1 practical action that can drive growth that day. This unites faith and action in a very concrete way. The law of attraction and faith go together when there is coherence between thought, emotion, and attitude. It is no use declaring abundance and acting in fear all day long. When you start living as someone who trusts, the flow changes. Gradually, abundance ceases to be a beautiful concept and becomes a natural state. This inner adjustment prepares you to understand something even deeper: how faith and prosperity strengthen each other. Faith and prosperity are not opposites, although many people have learned this way. True faith does not take you away from financial reality. It teaches you to deal with it without fear. When you trust God, anxiety decreases and decisions become clearer. Financial prosperity begins to flow when the subconscious mind stops reacting out of panic and starts acting out of conviction. Faith is not escape, it is foundation. In practice, faith and prosperity are built on small daily choices. Praying before starting work, asking for divine direction before closing a deal, or even before accepting an invitation already changes everything. This is prayer and action working together. The Bible shows that those who trust and act prosper because they are not moved by mental scarcity, but by the certainty that God honors principles. Prospering with God requires poise, not perfection. Napoleon Hill said that faith is a state of mind capable of transforming desire into reality. When you combine this with spirituality, the result is powerful. You begin to realize that thoughts create reality and that faith sustains those thoughts. Gradually, the prosperity mindset strengthens and you become less hostage to circumstances. This inner maturation makes room for something essential: definitively adjusting the way you think. Prosperity mindset is how you interpret life, not just how much you earn. 2 people can experience the same situation and react in opposite ways, all because of the mind. Those who develop this mindset understand that challenges are not punishments, but route adjustments. Prosperity starts in the mind when you stop wondering, why does this happen to me? And he starts to think, what does this want to teach me? A simple habit to strengthen the prosperity mindset is to take care of what goes through your ears and eyes. Books such as Who Thinks Gets Rich help to re-educate thinking, as well as Bible readings focused on divine wisdom. Replacing content that reinforces fear with messages that stimulate faith and prosperity changes the emotional vibration of the day. This is not isolation from the world, it is protection of the subconscious mind. When the mentality changes, the behavior follows. You start to act more clearly, less impulsively, and more consistently. Mental scarcity loses ground because you no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstances. This adjustment sets the stage for an even deeper step: the reprogramming of the mind, where old limiting beliefs finally begin to be overcome. Reprogramming the mind is not something mystical or complicated. It is a conscious process of replacement. Everything you believe today was learned at some point, including the ideas of mental scarcity. When you understand this, you realize that you can also learn to thrive. The subconscious mind responds to repetition, emotion, and faith, which is why thoughts create reality so precisely. A practical way to start this reprogramming of the mind is to observe the words you use on a daily basis. Phrases like "I can't," "it's too hard," or "this isn't for me" reinforce invisible blockages. Replace it with simple statements aligned with faith and prosperity, such as "I am learning," "God gives me divine direction," or "Abundance is organizing itself in my life." It may seem small, but the mind learns quickly. Strategic moments, such as when waking up and before going to sleep, are ideal for this internal adjustment. A short prayer, a verse, or even a conscious affirmation helps to reorganize the mental field. This is how the reprogramming of the mind becomes natural and sustainable. When this happens, the person begins to align the law of attraction and faith in a mature way, without conflict, preparing the next step of the journey. The law of attraction and faith do not compete with each other. They complement each other when well understood. Faith gives direction, while the law of attraction responds to the inner state you hold. When the subconscious mind is aligned with trust, hope, and purpose, opportunities begin to arise almost naturally. It's not magic, it's coherence between thought, emotion, and attitude. In practice, aligning the law of attraction and faith means acting according to what you pray. It makes no sense to ask for financial prosperity and maintain habits that reinforce mental scarcity. A simple exercise is to visualize your goals as you pray, feeling gratitude in advance. This strengthens spiritual prosperity and sends a clear message to the mind you believe and are ready to act. Napoleon Hill was talking about aligning desire with deep belief, and faith does just that. When you truly believe, your choices change. Anxiety decreases, focus increases, and the prosperity mindset consolidates. This alignment prepares you to understand that thriving is not just accumulating, but giving meaning to what is built, which brings us to the next point. Wealth with purpose completely changes the way you look at money. When money ceases to be an end and becomes a means, guilt, fear, and anxiety decrease. Divine wisdom teaches that financial prosperity without purpose generates emptiness, but when there is right intention, it generates peace. To prosper with God is to understand that resources expand who you already are inside. In practice, wealth with purpose starts with simple but profound questions. What do I want to thrive for? Who will be impacted besides me? These questions help align faith and action. It can be helping the family, investing in knowledge, supporting social projects, or simply living with dignity. When the subconscious mind understands that prosperity has a reason, it stops sabotaging the process. Psalm 112 shows that the wealth of the righteous endures because it is connected to values. This creates spiritual prosperity along with material prosperity. When you start to see money as a tool for construction and not for emotional compensation, everything changes. This understanding makes room for an essential adjustment in everyday life, consciously aligning thoughts, emotions, and faith. Positive thinking and faith don't mean ignoring problems, but choosing where to put the focus. Those who live only reacting to difficulties end up reinforcing mental scarcity without realizing it. Faith brings emotional stability, while positive thinking directs the mind to solutions. When these two go together, the subconscious mind begins to work in favor of financial prosperity, not against it. A simple exercise is to observe your automatic thoughts throughout the day. Whenever a negative idea arises, ask yourself, does it bring me closer or take me away from abundance? Instead of denying the problem, declare a greater truth based on faith and prosperity. Phrases like "God is giving me divine direction" help replace fear with trust. This constant adjustment strengthens the prosperity mindset. Over time, this mental training becomes natural. You start to react less and reflect more before acting. Thoughts create reality, but faith sustains those thoughts when the result has not yet appeared. This balance prepares you for the final step of this journey, understanding what it really means to prosper with God in an integral way. To prosper with God is to live in alignment, not in internal conflict. It is to understand that financial prosperity and spiritual prosperity do not cancel each other out when the principles are right. When God occupies the center, decisions become lighter and anxiety loses strength. Divine direction brings clarity even when the path is not yet fully visible, and this generates peace in the process of growing. In practice, thriving with God means uniting prayer and action every day. Praying for divine wisdom and acting responsibly creates a healthy flow of growth. This involves studying, working with excellence, planning, and also knowing how to wait. Faith does not eliminate effort, it gives meaning to it. Thus, the subconscious mind learns that thriving is safe and possible. When you walk this way, prosperity is no longer an anxious pursuit and becomes a natural consequence. Mental scarcity loses space, the prosperity mentality is strengthened, and abundance becomes part of your identity. This is a spiritual awakening that transforms not only your finances, but your way of living. And now, it's time to turn all of this into conscious action. After everything you've heard so far, raise a simple but powerful question: what will change in your way of thinking from now on? Financial prosperity doesn't start outside, it starts within. Every adjustment in your mind, every prayer made with intention, every action aligned with faith and prosperity builds a new path. is not about doing everything at once. It's about starting with awareness. Reflect for a moment, what limiting beliefs do you still carry about money, success, and worthiness? What would happen if, starting today, you chose to trust God more and act more clearly? When you understand that thoughts create reality and that thriving with God is an ongoing process, life stops being a constant struggle and becomes a journey of growth. Now, the decision is in your hands. Put into practice at least one of the guidelines you learned here today. And if this content spoke to you, subscribe to the channel, activate notifications, and walk with me on this journey of spiritual awakening, mind reprogramming, and wealth with purpose. The next step of your prosperity can start in the next video.